neck and the back. All right. Brain sits up here, covered by the skull. And there's this hole at the base of the skull, and the brain goes through that hole, comes the spinal cord, and the spinal cord goes down a canal formed by these vertebrae, which are hollow. Between each vertebrae, we have nerves that branch out to the body, and that's how our body functions. Messages from the brain to the body, but very importantly, from the body back to the brain. So our body kind of interprets the world and then lets the brain do it, and it gives the information to the brain of what's going on out there. So the brain could then send messages back to the body to be able to adapt and respond to whatever it is. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So what happens when we have physical stress, the trauma? Anybody here ever experienced physical stress or trauma? All right. Mental, emotional stress and trauma. Leave your phone down, Aaron. Chemical stress and trauma. Kevin. All right. So when we experience those traumas, they be physical, mental, emotional, chemical stress, that will cause tension. Right? And that tension will pull the spine out of the line. So this is, you've all heard this before, but we usually say that'll put pressure on the nerve, creating nerve interference. And we're not able to adapt and respond appropriately because the messages aren't coming. Right? So what actually happens, okay, is that this joint, see that back joint there? You see where the bones are coming together, everybody? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you see that? See that out in zoom in? All right. This is a synovial joint. And a synovial joint, the synovium is like a viscous liquid, like an oil. So it allows us to glide. And it's encased in like a bubble, like it's encapsulated. So what happens when we have these subluxations is that it breaks that bubble. And it causes that synovial fluid to leak. That is what causes the nerve interference. Right? So that synovial fluid actually irritates the nerve. Now these nerves, if we look at this chart here, right? Look at this chart here, right? You can see how it goes to all the organs and glands and muscles too, right? But there's also a feedback loop. There's nerves from here that go back to the brain. And the part of the brain that it goes to is called the reptilian brain, which is limbic system, which is our fight or flight. Right? So what do you think happens in terms of our tension levels in our body when we go into a fight or flight? Tighten up more, right? So now we're seeing this whole loop going. Now, let's talk a little bit about the stress response, because this is really important. So when our body goes into that stress response, and let's say it kind of gets stuck in that stress response, that has a big change in our physiology. So the sympathetic nervous system, all right, when it goes into a stress response, one of the things it'll do is it'll tell the organism that it's in danger. So we're going to start perceiving the world more as a dangerous place than as a safe place, which is going to do what? So here we are, we're getting deeper into the stress response side, right? We experience more anxiety, things like high blood pressure, our libido goes down. And so that's not good. Affects our sleep. One of the things that's really important to understand is that it depletes our immune system. So when our body's in the stress response, our immune system goes down. It does that because it's a low priority to be fighting a virus if the body thinks a bear is chasing us. All right? So all the energy is in survival instead of taking care of something that isn't, a virus doesn't seem as immediate threat, or does a cancer cell. Right, so you see the implications here. So that whole stress response will actually make us sicker. Treats our immunity, it makes us more susceptible to viruses, but unfortunately also all other diseases. So now we're talking about sick and broken. So in chiropractic, we talk about something called dis-ease. So dis-ease is when we're in shut down in the fight or flight, and dis-ease, which leads to disease. So it's really a global effect of what's going on. Make sense? So that's how being in the stress response actually leads to the sickness. Is also autoimmune disease. It is an autoimmune disease, which is something that we're seeing more and more of when the body is in such distress and the nervous system feels so threatened that's actually fighting, seeing its own body as a threat, and starts actually fighting its own body. This comes from being in that fight or flight, that stress response. So when we look at all these things, when we look at autoimmune disease, cancer, depleted immunities in terms of getting sick all the time, anxiety. Let me ask you a question too. Would you say that you're more creative when you're in a stress response, or relaxed, right? And when we're in that stress response, also, do you think you're going to be more loving or less loving? Less loving. Yes. You notice that when you're on vacation, you're relaxed. All of a sudden, you can relate to your significant other in a healthy way. All right, and it's actually, this is chemical things going on in the body. So the subluxations have big implications. They have big implications. So that's being, we're talking about, what's the name of the workshop? Don't want to be sick and broken. All right, so we're talking about the sick part. Now let's talk about the broken part. All right, so what happens with the broken part is when that synovial fluid leaks, it actually starts causing it the arthritic process and will break down the bones and the discs.
The synovial fluid is in the disc.
No, synovial fluid is encapsulated around this joint, in the joint, in this section.
Where the scenario is that it's leaking.
Yeah.
Right. The whole stress.
Right. Right. The tension in the body will pull the spine out of alignment, so start leaking. It'll cause that whole fight or flight thing, which makes us sick. But it also will physically break down the spine more, which is going to irritate the nerves more. And this whole process happens, it will start happening between a week, 1 or 2 weeks. And once the synovial fluid starts leaking, this whole process will start. That's why, to me, it's so important to have a spine check at this point.
Now, does the synovial fluid ever regenerate?
Yeah.
It does. Okay.
I believe so. So, so the implications of the subluxations are pretty intense. And what we're looking for everybody who comes here is to be able to bring the body out of dis-ease to ease. Really. Ease is it. And when we're in ease, that's when we're healthy, that's when things flow, that's when we can love it. That's when our relationships are better, that's when we're more creative, and that's when we see the world as a safe place instead of a hostile. Really, as they say, we perceive the world as we are, right? And the nervous system is skewed. That was pretty clear and direct, wasn't it?
It was.
So I hope that, well, we've been sitting here for 10 minutes. And I hope this 10 minutes was had some valuable information on how your body works.
It's interesting. No, I didn't realize that this thing can happen so quickly.
Yeah.
If not. So what you're saying is once you're adjusting the things in alignment, the irritation that's caused the synovial fluid to flow is
Right.
arrested.
So, especially I think my brand of chiropractic isn't just putting the bones together, pushing the bones back where they belong, which helps a lot, but also releasing the tension, creating the ease that pull the bones out first. That's why we do all the cranial work. It's like a deeper tension. So, if anybody doesn't know it, you know about chiropractic, right? Everybody will be getting these Zoom invitations. Invite a friend. People don't know about chiropractic. Even people go to chiropractic don't know what they're doing and how the subluxations affect. So here we go. We're done.
Awesome, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.